This is the Used Car Dealer Podcast.
Hello, it's Zach here, and today we have a great guest on the podcast, Nathan Fox, who's the Senior Director of Business Development for Cox Automotive's inventory management solution brands, and that includes Viato, Kelley Blue Book, and their instant cash offer tool. In this role, Nathan leads the development of all inventory merchandising solutions. His primary focus is helping dealerships grow their business by having all the data and tools they need to ensure their inventory investments pay off. Thanks so much for joining the podcast today, Nathan.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Zach.
So let's get started. And for those of us listening, talk about what exactly you do at Cox Automotive and how you got involved in the auto business.
So at Cox Automotive, I lead our strategy and development of products and solutions within the inventory merchandising space. So it's really focused on bringing data and tools to dealers to help them more effectively merchandise and promote their vehicles to consumers and shoppers. My path may be a little less traditional to the automotive space. I spent over 10 years in the consumer goods industry working for Procter & Gamble and Kimberly-Clark. But I think it's been a really interesting transition because my tenure during the consumer goods era was when e-commerce was really rising to become a dominant channel. And so I had to think through, how do you make offline content available to consumers shopping online? And all of that translation that I did in that environment is really remarkably parallel to what's going on in the automotive industry today as shoppers are pivoting more of the shopping journey to be digital.
Talk about the used car inventory marketplace in Q1 of this year and what you've observed from your lens at Cox Automotive.
Well, I think probably what you're seeing is the same we're seeing, Zach, which is a really tight supply on the used car market. Obviously, prices are up. I think in March it was a 20+% increase in used car pricing versus last year, and so we're continuing to see tight supply, high prices. At the same time, I think if you contrast that with the consumer demand, we're not seeing it really dampen consumer demand in a meaningful way. So we're seeing a relatively strong recovery in sales of used cars. So a really really interesting market right now between tight supply but strong demand.
The current inventory shortage is arguably the biggest challenge facing most dealerships right now. Your team doesn't produce inventory, but as I understand it, you're working to help dealers sell the units they have at the best possible price. Tell me more about that connection between merchandising and inventory shortage.
Zach, I often think that, regardless of the market dynamics, there's a connection between the products the dealer has in their lot, the way they price them, and the way they merchandise them. And when a dealer does a great job of connecting those levers together, they're able to optimize the return they get on every one of those vehicles. I think in the used car market today, where there's a shortage of supply, I think a lot of dealers are forced to bring inventory in that perhaps is outside of their comfort zone or may not be their target strategy of inventory. And so for those dealers to really think about their pricing and merchandising strategy relative to each of those vehicles is really, really critical because they may have a different product mix than what they're accustomed to because of that short supply.
So why is inventory management software so crucial for dealers, especially during these times?
It's a great question, Zach. I think inventory management software provides a lot of functionality for dealers and really helps connect all aspects of their business. And so when you think about from the acquisition of the inventory to how you price it, how you recondition it, and then how you merchandise it, it connects those pieces. And so in a market like today where that inventory is really tight, understanding what inventory you should go out and get, and then how you move it from acquisition through to frontline and then sell it, is more crucial than ever. And so a solid inventory management platform like Viato gives you the functionality to do all those tasks within a single environment.
What are some of your predictions for the rest of 2021 in terms of the used car marketplace?
I think all signs would point to it continuing to be a pretty tight market for the rest of 2021. Obviously, with some of the chip shortages on the new car side, that's continuing to create more demand in the used car side. So when you look at the cascading effect of that, and then obviously consumers are somewhat flush with cash right now, creating a lot of demand for used cars between stimulus checks, people having saved more money over the last year. we're seeing strong demand, which is then exacerbating that shortage of supply. And we think that will continue for the bulk of 2021. We hear that sentiment from most dealers as well. Very few dealers believe that they're going to get their inventory back to levels that they saw prior to the pandemic. I think on the independent side, it's a little less rosy. I think less than a third of dealers believe they'll start to see their levels of inventory at historic peaks. Franchise are a little more optimistic, but it's still below half.
You recently announced a new imaging tool that's being incorporated directly into vAuto's new used and inventory management platforms. Explain how this technology works and why is it valuable for dealers, especially like a used car dealership?
Yeah, we're really excited about the launch of SnapLot 360 technology in Viato. We brought that to the market earlier this month. And what it is an application that allows dealers to walk around their car, capture a 360 spin, and then it automatically extracts the exterior images of that car and creates a video with a professional voiceover. So kind of in one pass, the dealer gets really engaging media for that vehicle. It's then automatically visible in the vAuto inventory management platform and syndicates out to the dealer's website, Auto Trader, et cetera. And so from the standpoint of used vehicles, consumers really want that transparency. What are they getting? They want to know the specifics about that car. And so having a more interactive experience is really, really valuable as they're doing more shopping online.
So is this technology or functionality unique in the marketplace?
Zach, there's some other 360 products out there. I think what makes ours really unique is the integrations we've built. Like I mentioned, it is fully integrated with vAuto, and we know that 8 out of 10 dealers prefer to have one system to manage their inventory and merchandising workflows. You alluded to that question earlier, and so we think that integration is really valuable to dealers. And then the second one is it's the only 360 product that integrates with Auto Trader. And so when you look at one of the largest used listing platforms out there and the ability to get that engaging content in front of those shoppers, it's a really strong way to drive consumer engagement.
So who uses this tool within the dealership and how does it make their job easier and generate better results for the dealership?
Well, as we built the tool, we really thought a lot about how do we make this easy for really anyone capturing photos at the dealership to use it. And so, as I mentioned, it's a simple sort of walk around process. The application has photo guides to help any user capture a really compelling 360. And so, anyone that's at the dealership taking photos or any other media of the car can use the tool. And then obviously once the content is uploaded into vAuto, any stakeholder who's in the vAuto system has visibility to that and can see what's been captured, what's been produced. And so it really allows many people within the dealership to see the content and engage with it.
Why was it important to bring SnapLot 360 into the Viato Provision and Conquest platforms?
Well, I think it was important for two reasons, Zach. I think first and foremost is what consumers are demanding today. So, as the market-leading inventory management platform in vAuto, we know that consumers are looking for more transparency, more visibility, more content as they're shopping online. And so, we wanted to make sure that all those dealers that use our inventory management platform had access to those tools. And then the second, as I mentioned previously, I think knowing that that's becoming more mainstream, more part of how or kind of what consumers expect, I think that integration to create that single workflow was really, really important for the Provision and Conquest users.
What else does Cox Automotive, and specifically in your department, have coming down the pipeline in 2021?
Zach, we don't always share the things before we launch them, but I'll just say we are looking to do lots of innovation within the merchandising space as it relates to vAuto. As I said earlier, that mix between product price and the merchandising is really the way for dealers to maximize the profitability of their vehicles. And so we're looking to bring more and more functionality into the platform that helps dealers to work across those levers in a simple and uniform manner.
And what differences have you seen from dealers in the way they used vAuto tools pre-pandemic to now in 2021?
One of the great things about Viato, Zach, is it has so much functionality in it that we see dealers leaning into different parts of that functionality. And so within Viato, we have a product called StockWave that helps dealers to identify and then purchase vehicles at auction, and aggregates information from multiple auctions. And we've seen a tremendous amount of utilization of that tool in the last number of months, as it's really helped from an inventory supply standpoint. So it's been great to see dealers find some of those things that perhaps they didn't have to rely on as much, and really lean into some of the functionality that is embedded within Viato.
And then what's it like to implement SnapLot 360? Let's say a dealer already has Viato. What would be the next steps?
Sure. Well, obviously, the first step is to reach out to, whether it be a performance manager that they're already working with, reach out through any of our other contact information to get a demo and understand the product. And then one of the things that we really pride ourselves on at Viato is our support and implementation and performance management teams. And so those teams have a full sort of training, sort of checklist plan to get dealers set up, make sure they're capturing the 360s appropriately, and don't have any questions, and are comfortable using the tools.
So as we come to a close, what final advice do you have for a dealership who's starting to rethink their approach to merchandising?
I think as a dealer is starting to rethink about merchandising, they should really think about what the consumer is going to need to make certain steps in the journey. And so as they're doing more things online, most dealers that we talk to have added steps that can be completed online to really stop and think about what information they provided the dealer to support that when they're in store, and then think about how they provide that through merchandising platforms so the consumer can effectively complete those tasks online.
Wow. Well, I think it's been a great episode, and excited about the launch for SnapLot 360. Nathan, thank you so much for coming on the Used Car Dealer Podcast.
Zach, I really appreciate you having me, and have a great rest of your day.